This is Conrado Casallo, your favorite Dallas Filipino realtor. And today in Flip Friday, episode 12, we got a special guest, Sam Vallagomesa with Kapwa Capital.
Yeah.
So Sam,
Excited to be here.
tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so folks that don't know me, by day, I'm a life science and biotech salesman here in Dallas. And by passion, I'm also a private investor, an angel investor. And so that's what I really love to do and why I love talking with folks like you.
When I first met you, you were actually with a company called Philcor.
That's right.
But now you're with Kapwa Capital, and it's a Filipino investment, private equity. Right?
Correct. It's a community of folks that are investing in underserved founders, right? Okay. Filipinos kind of being first and foremost with our general partner, Maria, and myself. Kapwa is a Filipino way of being.
Yeah.
So that piece of our culture is obviously infused in everything that we're doing.
So how did you get into medical device or like that type of sales and then into private equity, helping businesses fundraise?
Yeah.
Would you consider it fundraising?
It is fundraising for these businesses. So by education, I'm a bioengineer from Rice in Houston, Texas, and where I was born and raised. And sales was always, well, it wasn't always what I wanted to do. For a long time, I thought, let me do as much education as I can do. Our proud Filipino parents had loved for me to be a doctor or a PhD.
The other side of the
and that's right. Now I'm to the dark side, selling the tools and the scalpels. But I did a couple of months of research in a research laboratory, and I realized I'm meant to be out with people. I'm meant to be doing business. I have an entrepreneurial bent that came from my parents, and that's also a big reason why I see the need for next generations of Filipinos and immigrant families to have access to capital, right? Private equity and venture capital is what allows businesses to grow and scale, and oftentimes the biggest businesses are just the ones that have the biggest pocketbooks.
Exactly. You know? And you don't really see a lot of Filipinos doing what you're doing.
No. In fact,
you're the only Filipino I know that is...
My general partner, Maria, is definitely a trailblazer, not just being a general partner as a woman.
Yeah.
Only 2% of venture capital even goes towards women-owned businesses, but also being an allocator, right? For obviously 4 or 5 innumerable generations past, private equity fundraising has been a bit of a gate-kept sport.
So let's say a Filipino business, they're successful, they're making 6 figures, but they're looking to expand and scale either their workforce, their equipment, whatever it is that they're doing. How could someone obtain financing or fundraising from Kapwa?
Yeah, so Kapwa Capital, kapwacapital.com, right? Businesses from underserved founders that are looking to raise funds. Venture capital firms everywhere often have founder intake forms. And so if you're looking to raise a private round of equity financing, you would go and you'd submit a deal memo and your latest pitch deck and all of your financials. And you'd share all that information and you'd go through a diligence process with companies like ours. And depending on what level of your equity for your company you're trying to offer, so that way you can raise capital, everything gets negotiated on the back end. So for our stage of companies, we do pre-seed and seed stage companies. They're usually looking to raise anywhere between $100,000 to $250,000 in their what might be one of their first rounds of equity fundraising outside of their family and friends. And that's the sweet spot for us, right? That's the early stage portion of a deal where we're the first funds in the door.
Yeah.
You don't have to go tap every bit of credit that you have at the bank or take out huge amounts of loans. You can get those first believers in your company and really go out there and make your mission.
So now let's say they go and present their pitch deck and everything, their numbers, right, for the year. Are you kind of like a Shark Tank?
We're ecosystem builders, really first and foremost. And so we provide resources to companies. We often are just giving our unsolicited but solicited advice to companies on your product is maybe too early stage. You need to spend some time assessing your product market fit. You need to do another round of prototyping. You need to achieve this feature set, get your MVP, get your first 10 adopters or 15 customers before a firm like us would be willing to either invest or rep your deal out to, in our case, we're a network of investors.
Yeah.
I was an angel investor for the first time 3 years ago through a syndicate, just like what we're doing. That was based around a specific investment thesis. Venture capital and private equity investing is inherently risky, so everyone should be aware of that. And there's always disclosures that need to be made and understood. You have to understand the risks of what you're doing in private investing. But after you get a little bit of experience doing it yourself, it's something that with a network of trusted partners that you can essentially do on your own and really better together. So that's what we're doing at Kapwa.
So then how does Kapwa benefit from investing in different companies? Like explain to the audience who may not know exactly what you do and how the process works.
Sure. So an angel syndicate like ours, typically we're putting together several investors that are investing anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 of their own money into one larger check, something like $100,000 to $250,000. And so we form the entire investment equity, that deal, like company, entity is what I meant to say, that actually deploys the check and then handles the carry after the investment gets realized, either in a future round of fundraising or whenever the shares are sold back from the company. So that can often be a 7 to 10 year period, right? And so we have to have a lot of legal structure just to protect everyone's money and then handle the carry on the back end. And then for our part in it, we take a small carry percentage. Yeah. At the end.
So like it could be anywhere from 5 to 10 to maybe 15 investors if they have like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What's the minimum investment? Like if someone that's watching is saying, man, I got like $10,000 laying around, right, that I want to invest in, like what's the minimum investment that they could play?
Typically, it depends on the deal, the specific company and their terms. We like to say 10,000 is generally the advisable minimum for this stage of this type of investing. And it can be a little bit lower than that, again, depending on certain deal terms.
So then like now someone invests 25,000, but you were able to raise 250,000. What would be the percentage that these people that are investing, these investors that are putting the money up, what kind of return would they typically see?
Yeah, so in venture capital, you make 10 investments and you expect that 9 of them will fail.
Yeah.
Right. They will either break even or you will lose money or they may not realize. But the goal of venture capital, especially at this early stage where we're at, is to find companies that are transformative, that will become market leaders, that are bringing truly a novel technology. The seed round, right, what we're talking about is where if you were in Google or YouTube, you turn $1,000 into $1 million. Yeah. The goal is to have a 10x, 100x, even 1,000x return, depending on your time frame and horizon, right? And so that level of access, that level of early access is something that our community needs to understand and be a part of.
So what industries are you looking for?
Sure. So we're industry agnostic, Kapwa Capital. Me personally, my background being in biotechnology and bioengineering, I'm always looking at life science, healthcare, medical companies.
That makes sense because you're already in the industry.
That's where my education and domain expertise is. My general partner, Maria, has invested in consumer product good companies in the past. She has a corporate background doing ecosystem work at Allstate, and so is familiar with insurance companies and familiar with lots of different kinds of business models. We have software companies that we work with, hardware companies. There's a lot of really deserving and underserved founders out there, including maybe some people that are watching now. Yeah. So I would encourage everybody to, if you have a great company, let's hear your pitch. And that's right. And if you're looking to invest in future market leading companies with Filipino founders, underserved founders, then come talk to us as well.
So do you help out a lot of Filipino companies, or is it like just mixed? Anybody that is looking for funding?
So underserved, right?
Underserved, yeah.
Women founders, API founders, that really, there's so many out there that we could be busy just doing that, right? But Kapwa, togetherness, our shared humanity, it's really about underserved founders. So anybody that is either it's their first time, they're trying to get capital, other VCs aren't going to talk to them, but we're finding a diamond in the rough. We see the potential in the founders. That's where I think we really add value, is that we're not going to overlook folks just because they don't fit the perfect background criteria. Yeah.
Now, what's your goal, like 5-year, 10-year, like what are you trying to do with Kapwa?
At Kapwa, our impact is going to be measured by the number of great companies and underserved founders that get to market through their next priced round. Yeah. Right. And so right now, we're a small team. There's about 5 of us across the U.S. If we can fundraise and help 4 companies in a year, a deal a quarter.
It's a lot.
That is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of fundraising. It's a lot of
fundraise. Like
it's a lot of effort
how many people could actually raise $1 million
in a year.
in a year? You're raising 250,000 every quarter.
Right. We're fortunate that we've got about 200 interested investors from across the U.S., all kinds of backgrounds that believe in the mission that we're doing.
Promoting that? Like, how are you finding like hundreds of investors all over the country?
We attend investment events.
Oh, okay.
We attend
like not pop-ups, but like
yes, there are conventions kind of around angel investing, venture capital that are thesis specific, like around certain industries, software or consumer product goods. There are also the big thing with our company is that a lot of our people that we're affiliated with are already super connectors and networkers, ecosystem builders that are putting together relationships for founders with people that do all kinds of technical consulting, corporate finance, legal services. So there's already that ecosystem that had been building over time, which is, again, the other half of the value that we look to bring to underserved innovators and founders is not just the capital, right? Like, yes, at the end of the day, your business isn't going to make it if you don't have your funds to make payroll and to grow your team. But you also need, sometimes the one connection can lead to the right partnership for a business to grow and scale, if they're B2B, or the right customer base. Having 8 years of commercial sales experience and life science trying to sell a $500,000 machine, I know just perfectly well that you can't be a pushy, annoying salesperson. You have to be solutions oriented. You have to be inquisitive. It's kind of the antithesis of being a used car salesperson. And so it's the same way when it comes to fundraising, right? There's also some legislation around us in terms of solicitation, right? Like you said, how do you fundraise $250,000 a year? You have to have private conversations, relationships with folks that you promote deals with, and it's still a private and a person-to-person thing. I can't go out on the internet and say, hey, look, I've got these deals, and solicit them generally. It is actually against the law. There are legal ramifications if you do general solicitation when it comes to private equity. So it's a trust business just as well, and that's why it's really important in our community to share this information, have conversations, and learn who and how and where to trust one another when it comes to money, right? It's a hard thing to trust somebody else with your money.
When I first got started in real estate back in 2016, I actually was working at AT&T, and I was making $36,000 a year. And I was like the top sales guy at the store in pretty much the regions, but I was part-time. And I had negative $200-something in my bank. When you make $36,000,
it's any unexpected expense can hit.
And I had to use my sales skills. And our first house that we flipped, I had to raise about $50,000, and I did it in 3 days.
Wow.
I went to go look for people who I knew had 10,000, 15,000, just like what you're doing. And I said, hey, here's the numbers. This is how much we're getting the house for. This is how much it's going to cost to fix. This is how much we could sell it for. Who wants in? And based on however much that they invested in was the percentage that they got.
Of course.
But obviously, I'm going to get more because I was like the project manager.
Right.
This is the first house that I flipped. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Yeah.
It was more of like trial and error.
Right.
But then from there, it's like, oh, the next house, the same investors were like, okay, let's put it in.
Yes.
After that, when I said we have this house, they didn't even ask me for numbers.
Right.
They just said, okay, how much do you need?
Yeah, I'm in.
Right. Because they already knew that when we went to go look at properties, we had to make sure that there was room for profit.
Right.
And room for mistakes. Right. And so I feel like in the same way, what you're doing is what I was doing, but on a larger scale. You're
right.
Asking for $50,000.
Right.
You're asking for $250,000.
No, yeah. These companies are often trying to raise with us at valuations. They're valuing themselves at maybe 10 million or 15 million, again, depending on what kind of assets or intellectual property that they have. And yeah, they're asking for $250,000, $500,000, depending on, again, what stage they're at. And so, but again, at the end of the day, as you said, the name of the game, it's trust.
Yep.
You have to build that shared understanding of what this asset class is that you're investing into. So it takes the right kind of folks and the right kind of risk profile. It's not something you do with all of your money. It's something you do with part of your money, right? And so
something that like, okay, I have this much, but if I lose this, I know that I still have this.
But I'm planting a seed that could grow a really large tree for my next generation.
Yeah, I know a venture capitalist. He had universallighting.com, sold it to Lowe's, made $100 million.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
And then he said for like the next, I don't know, 4 years, he just went on vacation. And he was like, wait a minute, this can't be life.
Yeah.
So then he ended up taking whatever money that he had left. And he said, how could I invest this in different businesses? And people, because he grew up poor.
Yeah.
Right. And he said that his job, he was a janitor, and then he just worked his way up in the company.
Right.
So then he ended up investing in thousands of companies throughout the years, and he's worth over $500 million.
Yeah.
But he told me, he was like, yeah, he only does tech.
Right.
You know.
Right.
He said, yeah, a lot of these companies, they'll fail, but there's that one that will make up for all the other failures. Is that kind of like
that is the venture capital mindset,
Yeah.
right? And two, what you talk about that person's background. I think Filipinos, we're so entrepreneurial. You see it all the time. Everybody's starting up a business to feed their family and have something to leave behind. So I think so many people identify with this entrepreneurial journey you've mentioned in your life and that we see with all of the incredible founders that we talk to. My mom and dad also started a business in Houston, Texas. They started a staffing business, and they were staffing nurses to the hospitals for shift work. And my mom was the first employee, and she staffed herself, right? And they did a similar business doing home health care, right? And it's the same skills, nursing, get all your friends. That entrepreneurial journey it's everywhere. Small business, it's the heart of America, right? And so we see that in all of our communities. And yet there's always going to be folks that have an idea that can be the next Google. There's the people out there that make apps and then they go on to become unicorns because it's like Bumble and Canva. And these are Asian women founders that, again, probably got passed over by 100 VCs before they ever met somebody that had that values alignment and knew what they were worth and was willing to support them, right? And so you asked me, where do I see it? What do I want? I'm relatively early in my career, and especially when it comes to this venture capital thing. But hopefully when it's all said and done and we look back in 15 or 20 years, everybody's going to realize and see how formidable Filipinos are in the workforce, which they already know. But in the business world, in entrepreneurship, they're going to see how we all support one another, how we're more powerful together. Yeah. And there's been a lot of successful examples in other communities, the Vietnamese and Chinese communities. They do a lot of this for businesses internally within their ethnic structure, right? But I think we're for the Filipinos. That's right. It's time for Filipinos to rise up.
You were one of like the big supporter, contributor, sponsor for the first Palenque.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. When you first heard of it, what were you thinking in your mind? Like, were you excited about it? Were you like, hey, people in my age group, Filipinos in my age group?
Yes. Yes.
What got you to be a supporter of it?
Lone Star Palenque, especially here in DFW. I grew up in Houston. Houston has a great Filipino community and is probably maybe 10 years, 20 years more mature than Dallas-Fort Worth is. And yet there's so many Filipinos up here. Yeah. And I loved everybody that's been involved with PACE leadership, which I would consider you and our friends amongst, totally inspired by everything that it meant, what it represented, and what we did in those first few years. A lot of folks only get to see the party that is Lone Star Palenque and come and hang out. And I was very privileged to be behind the scenes, be that second or third supporter, right? And put it together and support from kind of behind the scenes, but being an early supporter means a lot, right?
Yeah.
And
you were one of the first supporters that came through.
Yeah.
And then when you sponsored it, we're like, what?
People are willing to do it. People are willing to put up for it.
And said that, and what the thing is, a lot of people, I feel like, didn't believe at first.
Right.
So because you were one of the first believers, because there's so many times that we wanted to quit.
Sure. But after, when the money's in the door, you can't quit now.
And then the belief system started to happen.
Yeah.
And we're like, Filipinos here in DFW, we are longing and we are hungry for that community. Yeah. But people were just coming out of the woodwork when they started seeing everything that was unfolding. Yeah. Now, I know we want to see this Filipino Community Center within like the next 5 years. Why do you feel like it's important for the Filipinos here in DFW? Because you grew up in Houston and you're saying they're 10, 20 years more mature. And I feel the same way in Seattle.
Right.
And DFW, we're still babies. But why is it important for you, especially your upbringing in Houston, why we should have one here?
There's nothing like the physical manifestation of a dream. Why do we need a Filipino community center? We can only do so much as a community rotating around without a real physical place to call home. I think that physical manifestation is going to mean everything to the Filipinos of DFW and even more broadly in and around the state. There are going to be 100 cities in the U.S. that will never see a Filipino community center.
Yep.
But for there to be one, and in the state of Texas, the great state of Texas that loves us, right? Our Filipino community, I think would be a dream come true for absolutely everybody. Those buildings, as I've gotten older, I have so much appreciation now for buildings, and I want to be the kind of person that one day gets their name in a brick in a building and leaves it behind. And 50 years from then, my grandkid can say, yeah, look, my dad's name is on the Filipino Community Center.
He was a part of building that.
Yes, that's right.
See that this generation, we have the opportunity to say when we're older, when we're 80 years old, when we were younger, we were a part of that, and we just pushed through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're part of it.
You are as well. Everyone is. Everybody watching this as well. I think a lot of your audience in and around DFW, and yeah, we're all part of it.
So what part of DFW are you in?
So I live in Dallas right now, just about 10, 15 minutes north of like the medical center.
Yeah.
So I live in Dallas proper, the city of Dallas.
The city of Dallas.
Yeah.
Not Dallas County.
Not Dallas County. I'm city of Dallas right now. My wife and I are moving within the metroplex. We're still going to be here. So I'm selling my home and looking to buy, and I'm so grateful to know you, my DFW Filipino realtor, right? So it's quite a journey. It's pretty stressful. As of June 2024, the market is challenging to be in, and so you really need.
But it's getting better.
It is getting better.
Interest rates dropped a little bit.
I got a half. My lender came back and said there was a half point off, basically what they offered me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I'll wait a little bit longer. But it just like trust is everything, and so working with the right people in real estate is equally as important. Those are the biggest financial decisions you make in your life. They affect you for a decade or more. Yeah. So great to have trusted partners there too.
So what's one thing, like for the people who's watching this and they're probably thinking like, where are all the Filipinos at, or what is there to do in DFW? What's like a pro? Because you're not born and raised here. You're from a different part of Texas.
Right.
So what's something that you love about DFW, either like a must do, a must see, a must eat that you want the audience to know?
I mean, I think if you're a Filipino and you're looking for a must-see area, you need to go to Carrollton, and you need to go check out all of the K-Town there. Yes. You can lose 6 months of your life eating your way through the K-Town in Carrollton. So that's my behind-the-scenes Filipino foodie thought.
Until we get our own Filipino town.
Until the Filipino Community Center gets plopped down. Yeah. And then we get the Jollibee in the same strip center as the...
Seafood City, you're mentioned all the time in this channel, but we want to hear from you. Like, why are you not here in DFW? Right?
That's right. There's a lot of space for you here. The market is big enough for everybody in DFW. They only just put the first HEB up in town. And
now there's like 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to put more up. So there's room for everybody here. We can only have so many 99 ranches and H-Marts. Yeah. So
we need a Seafood City here.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So where can people find you online? Your social, your handles, anywhere. Where could they find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a private person. I'm not...
Okay.
No. It's okay. I have a Facebook and an Instagram account, but I would absolutely love if you checked us out at kapwacapital.com and on our LinkedIn page. That is the best way to find out about, connect about what I'm doing. And then let's be friends in real life as well. So
what I'll do is I will drop a link in the description.
Absolutely.
So if you or anybody that are looking for funding, right, or just looking for a friend and have some friend, connect with him on kapwacapital.com, and on LinkedIn. I'll put the link in the description. Is there anything else that you want to say for our viewers?
Thanks for watching. I think everybody that's part of your audience is an integral part of every bit of work that we're doing with the Filipino American community endeavor in North Texas, for everything that I'm working towards with Kapwa Capital. So for everybody watching, thank you. And I hope we get to meet up in person together and work together in real life soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank y'all for watching. Make sure that if someone who is looking for capital, to share this video with them, share his link with them. And if anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or relocate to DFW, make sure you contact your boy, Conrado Casallo, your favorite Dallas Filipino realtor. And with that being said, y'all have a wonderful day.